It hurts, doesn't it? That little silence after the chaos. The way the room feels colder after the people you trusted walked out like you were nothing. That burn in your chest when someone looks you dead in the eye and lies. It ain't a sharp pain like a knife. Nah, it's slower, like acid. It eats you from the inside out. You ever felt that? Of course you have. That's why you're still standing here quiet. People think silence means peace. But sometimes silence is a scream so loud, only the broken can hear it. You know that kind of silence. The one that speaks of betrayal, of scars stitched by your own kindness, of memories too heavy to carry but too real to drop. And you've carried them all, haven't you? You ever notice how they all smile when you're giving and vanish when you're empty? That's the part that breaks most people. You give them your time, your energy, your damn soul, and they walk away like they bought it on discount. They use your loyalty like a doormat, wipe their filth on you, and then have the nerve to say you've changed. Damn right you did. Pain rewires you. You can't be the same after being stabbed by the very hands you swore you'd protect. You don't smile the same, don't trust the same, don't love the same. And they act shocked, like you're supposed to stay soft in a world that only respects hard. Let me tell you something. They never wanted you strong. They wanted you tame, obedient, quiet. But now you've seen it, the truth, the ugly, harsh, cold reality. No one is coming to save you, and no one ever really cared. You want to know why it hurts so much? Because it meant something to you. That connection, that promise, that bond. But to them, it was convenience. It was fun, a break from boredom. You were just a chapter. They were your whole damn book. And now you're stuck, rereading pages that only cut deeper with every word. But you better burn that book. Set fire to the illusions. Because the day you stop bleeding for people who wouldn't even hand you a bandage, that's the day you start healing. That's the day the pain becomes power. But don't confuse healing with forgetting. No, never forget. Remember every moment they made you feel small, every night they didn't call, every time they chose someone else. Remember it. Let it fuel you, because they will come back. They always do. But not out of love, out of habit, out of guilt, out of curiosity to see if the door is still open. Lock it, nail it shut. And if they knock, let silence answer. You know what the cruelest part is? They'll tell people you were the problem, that you were unstable, intense, too much, and people will believe them, because nobody likes a sad story unless it's got a happy ending. And you've been too real for their fake world. You felt too deeply, cared too loudly, loved too hard. In a world built on masks, you were naked, vulnerable, honest. And that's why they feared you. You showed them what they weren't. You made them uncomfortable with your truth. So they ran. And you cried. Not because they left, but because you stayed too long hoping they'd return. But they won't. Not the version you loved. That version only existed in your mind. You didn't fall in love with them. You fell in love with the idea of them. And that's why it shattered you. You were loyal to a lie. And now you're standing in the aftermath, not of war, but of trust broken. People always talk about heartbreak like it's this poetic thing, like it happens with soft music and tears under rain. Nah, the real kind of heartbreak, it's ugly, it's silent, it creeps up on you in the middle of a conversation when you realize you can't talk to them like you used to. It shows up when you hear a song you both liked and your stomach turns instead of your heart. That's the kind of pain that doesn't make you cry. It makes you numb. And you know what's worse than being hurt? Pretending you're not. Smiling in public while screaming in private. Acting okay so nobody asks questions you don't have answers for. That's the game the broken play. And you've become a damn expert at it. You know what kills me about people? They love the version of you that fits their comfort zone. Be too strong and you're intimidating. Be too honest and you're toxic. Be too quiet and you're cold. Be too kind and you're weak. You see the pattern? They don't want you. They want control over you. They want the power to define what you are and when you're useful. But the moment you stop being their puppet, they cut the strings and call you a monster. And that's fine. Let 'em. Because if being selfish with your peace makes you the villain, then wear that crown with pride. At least villains don't break down for love that isn't real. At least villains don't beg for people who already forgot them. You're still here, aren't you? After all of it. After they lied. After they ghosted you. After they made you question your worth. You're still breathing. That's not weakness. That's survival. That's strength in its rawest form. But no one claps for the survivor. They only see the scars when you finally show them. And when you do, they call you dramatic. Like pain is something you owe them silence for. Like your suffering should be invisible unless it's convenient for their pity. But let me tell you what I've learned. This world respects loud pain. If you suffer in silence, they call it strength and leave you to rot. So scream if you must. Break if you must. But rebuild. Stronger. Colder. Smarter. Because the goal isn't just to survive what they did. It's to make sure you never let it happen again. There's going to be nights you want to text them. Mornings where their memory creeps into your coffee. Random moments where everything reminds you of what you lost. And I want you to do one thing. Let it hurt. Don't run from it. Don't drown it in distractions or fake smiles. Feel it. Let it tear through your chest. Let it rip apart the illusions. Because real healing, it doesn't come from forgetting. It comes from understanding why it broke you. It comes from accepting that you gave more than they deserved, that you believed in a connection they treated like an option. And once you own that pain fully, no one can use it against you again, not even them. And one day, when they come back, because they always come back, they'll find a different version of you. Not bitter, not angry, just distant, empty, unreachable. You won't argue, you won't explain, you won't even care. Because the pain that once shook your world will be just a story now, a chapter you closed without needing their permission. And they'll feel it, the absence. The space they used to occupy in your heart, now filled with silence. That's the real revenge. Not loud, not messy, just gone, replaced by peace they can't touch. And they'll hate it, because nothing haunts a person more than the silence of someone they once took for granted. You want to know what really drives people crazy? It's not anger. It's not rage. It's not even hate. It's indifference. When they see the version of you that no longer reacts. No more late night texts. No more explaining yourself. No more chasing. That cold silence. It kills louder than 1,000 screams. And when you reach that point, when you stop giving a damn about their excuses, their guilt, their sudden check-ins, that's when you win. Because now it's not about proving them wrong, it's about proving yourself right. You didn't need them to begin with. You just thought you did. You confused connection with comfort. You mistook habit for love. And when you realized they never valued your loyalty, that was your awakening, not your breakdown. You remember all those times you cried and no one saw it? All those days you smiled while your heart was breaking? Yeah, those are the days that made you. Not the happy ones, not the ones with the fake love and the temporary people. Nah, it's the nights you had nothing but pain and still got up the next day. That's what makes a monster out of a man. That's what forges legends. And the world, it ain't built for the soft. It ain't built for those who love with no limits and break quietly in the dark. But you're adapting, you're mutating, becoming something they can't use anymore. You're finally learning what they never taught you, to be dangerous with your peace, to be powerful in your silence, to move like a ghost, felt, but never seen. And I know, there's a part of you that still wants closure, that still wants them to say sorry, to admit what they did, to look you in the eye and acknowledge the mess they left behind. But listen carefully. You will never get it. Not because you don't deserve it, but because they don't have the capacity to give it. Some people can't handle guilt, so they rewrite history. They convince themselves you were the problem. It helps them sleep at night, Let them. You don't need their apology. The closure you're looking for isn't out there. It's inside you. It's in every breath you take without them, every step forward, every smile that doesn't need their approval. That's closure. That's justice, not in words, in growth. Now let me tell you what's next. You keep walking, even when it still stings, even when the memories try to pull you back, even when their name pops up and your chest tightens. You don't stop, because the moment you do, you give them power, and power, that's something you should never surrender again. You gave too much of it away. Time, love, energy, all handed to people who didn't have the decency to hold it carefully. But now, you hold it. You protect it, like your life depends on it. Because it does. Your peace, your mental space, your future. They all depend on you not going back to what broke you. Not letting nostalgia blind you into repeating the cycle. People don't change. They just learn how to act better. And most of them, they're actors with no script. They improvise affection until they get what they want. Then they leave you empty. Again. So stop trying to be good in a world that rewards manipulation. Stop trying to be soft for people who only see softness as weakness. Be sharp. Be silent. Be selective. Not everyone deserves access to you. Not everyone gets to know the battles you're fighting. Some people, they only show up to watch you bleed. So bleed in silence. Heal in shadows. Rise in silence. Then when the time comes, they won't recognize you. They'll look at you and see a ghost of the person they thought they broke. And that ghost, he doesn't cry anymore, he doesn't beg, he doesn't hope. He just watches, cold, calm, unreadable. Because pain didn't make him bitter. It made him unreadable. And unreadable is untouchable. You see, they never expected you to rise. They counted on your silence, meaning defeat, on your kindness, meaning submission. They thought your tears were signs of weakness, not transformation. They never understood that a person pushed to the edge doesn't fall. They jump, and they don't come back the same. You're not healing to go back to who you were. You're healing to bury him. That version of you who waited for Tex, who explained his worth, who fought to prove he was enough. He's dead now. And what stands in his place? A storm. Not the kind that destroys for fun, no. The kind that wipes out everything fake, everything hollow. Everything that dared underestimate it. You've become that storm. And now, they're the ones feeling the cold. They're the ones left in the silence you once drowned in. And I know, the nights still ache. Healing ain't linear. Some days you'll feel nothing. Others, you'll remember every detail. The laugh, the lies, the promises. You'll hear echoes of conversations that were supposed to mean something, but don't run from it. Let it remind you, let it burn. Because every scar has a story, and yours is one of survival. You didn't break. You bled. You didn't fall apart. You fell through. And what's on the other side? Clarity. The realization that not everyone deserves access to your heart, no matter how close they stood. Some people ain't meant to be chapters. They're lessons, brutal ones. And once you learn them, you don't reread the pain. You close the book and move on with scars that speak louder than any goodbye ever could. They'll regret it. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but they will. Not because they suddenly grew a conscience, but because one day they'll need what you gave them freely. The loyalty, the patience, the understanding. And they'll find it in someone else's hands, but it won't feel the same. Because no one gives like you did. No one stays like you stayed. And that's the curse of real ones. We're irreplaceable, but always replaced too soon. So when they try to come back, and they will, don't open the door. Let them feel the weight of what they lost. Let them choke on the silence they left you in. That silence, it became your shield, your weapon, your new language, and it speaks volumes. It says, I survived you. I'm not yours anymore. I never was. And now it's about you. Not revenge, not showing them you're better, just becoming better for you. Because every second you spend hoping they see your value is a second you steal from your future. And your future, it's waiting for a version of you that doesn't shrink around pain, doesn't bend for apologies that never come, doesn't wait at doors that don't open. That version, he's serious. He's cold. He's real. He don't play games. He don't beg. He walks in silence, but his presence screams. That's who you're becoming. And the process? Yeah, it hurts. Growth always does. But pain is a compass. It points you to where the healing starts. And right now, it's pointing you away from everything that made you feel small. So get up, not to prove anything, not to show them you're strong, just because staying down doesn't suit you anymore. They already buried the version of you they thought was soft. Don't make the mistake of digging him back up. Let him rest. Let them mourn the one they lost while you become the man they'll never deserve again. The man who ain't angry, just done. The man who don't react, just disappears. The man who learned that silence is not weakness, it's warfare. And right now, you're winning without a single word. You know what's funny? Not ha-ha funny, but tragic funny. It's how people only start valuing you when you finally stop giving. When you finally shut the door they kept walking through like it was theirs to open and close at will. You gave them chances. You gave them time. You gave them explanations when they didn't even deserve a look. You gave, and they took like it was owed to them. And then, one day, you stopped. Not because you stopped caring, but because you got tired of bleeding for someone who never even brought you a damn bandage. And now they're feeling it. That silence they thought was weakness, it became a wall they can't climb. That distance they used to mock, it became a grave for every fake excuse they ever threw at you. And now they sit in the ruins of your absence, pretending they don't miss what they destroyed, but they do. Oh, they do. Because here's what people never tell you. The same silence they use to ignore you is the same silence that'll haunt them later. You were the calm before the storm, the peace they thought would always be there. And when you walked away, they lost more than just your presence. They lost loyalty. They lost someone who truly gave a damn. They lost someone who would have fought hell and high water just to make them feel understood. And that kind of loss don't hit right away. It sneaks in on quiet nights, in empty rooms, in the eyes of people who never look at them the way you did. That's the kind of hurt they can't name, but they feel it. Deep, unavoidable, unforgivable. And that's when it hits them. You weren't replaceable. You were rare. And they let rare go like it was regular. But don't you dare wait for them to realize that. Don't you dare sit around hoping they'll see what they lost. That's not healing. That's prison. You've been strong enough to walk away. Now be strong enough to keep walking. I know it still hurts. I know some nights feel heavier than others. You stare at the ceiling, wondering if it was all in your head, wondering if maybe you were the problem. Let me tell you something loud and clear. You were not the problem. You were the solution they weren't mature enough to hold on to. You brought peace, they brought chaos. You offered truth, they offered convenience. You were consistent, and they mistook that for boring. But real ones? We don't shine under fake lights. We glow in the dark. And now that you've embraced your shadows, they don't know how to handle your glow. You've changed. You're colder now, sharper, quieter. And people will talk. They'll say you're different. Damn right you are. Pain changed you. Betrayal taught you. Silence sculpted you. You don't open up so quick anymore. You don't hand out second chances like candy. And that's not bitterness. That's wisdom. You're guarding the gates now. You're watching the energy, not the words. You're listening to what people don't say more than what they do. And that's survival. That's strength. That's what happens when a person walks through fire and refuses to come out the same. You weren't built for destruction, but you've learned how to become the storm if need be. So keep going, not because it's easy, but because the other option is crawling back into the arms that let you break the first time. And we don't do that anymore. We don't chase ghosts. We become the kind of silence that haunts them. We become a memory they can't outrun, because some people only understand your worth after they lose your presence. And by then, it's too damn late. You see, the worst part of pain isn't the screaming, it's the silence. That thick, choking quiet after you realize they're not coming back. Not because you did something wrong, but because you were too real in a world full of fake. You showed them the truth. Your soul, your care, your flaws, your love, raw and unfiltered. And they couldn't handle that. People don't want raw, they want rehearsed. They want easy love with no responsibility, loyalty without effort, presence without depth. And when you gave them something deeper than their shallow expectations, they panicked, ran, blamed you, said you changed. But what really happened? You grew. You stopped dimming your light to fit in their shadows. You realized you weren't made to be a chapter in someone else's broken story. You were made to be the author of your own damn book. And the next chapter doesn't include them. There comes a point where you gotta stop watering dead flowers. That's what you were doing. Pouring your time, your energy, your light into people who had no intention of blooming with you. They took the best parts of you and gave nothing back. And yet, you stayed. You tried. You justified their coldness with stories of their past, excused their inconsistency with your patience, and kept breaking your own back, trying to carry people who wouldn't even take a step for you. That wasn't love. That was self-abandonment dressed in loyalty. And now you're done. Not bitter, just done. You finally realize the only person who's gonna save you is you. Not the apology, not the closure, not the return, just you. Getting up, healing, building, and becoming untouchable in silence. You want to know what power looks like? It's not loud. It's not revenge. It's not proving a point. It's walking past the people who once made you question your worth without flinching. It's ignoring the call you used to pray for. It's smiling when you hear their name, not out of happiness, but indifference. That's power. Because when they had you, they had access to everything. Your love, your thoughts, your time. And now, they get none of it. Not because you hate them, but because they showed you they weren't worthy. And worth? That's no longer something you hand out blindly. You learned the hard way, through nights that nearly broke you, through tears that felt like drowning, through silence that screamed louder than any betrayal ever could. But you're here, still standing, and that's everything. You're not heartless. You're just tired of giving your heart to people who hold it with bloody hands. You're not cold. You've just been burned so many times that you learned how to freeze out the fire before it starts. And people don't like that. They miss the version of you that bled for them, that answered every text, that forgave every ghosting. But that version, gone. And now they're left with the silence they created. And the irony? They'll paint you as the villain. They'll tell their side of the story with tears in their eyes and filters on their guilt. Let them. Let them scream lies while you build truth. Because one day, someone else will ask, what happened between you two? And your silence will say more than any story ever could. You don't need to clear your name. The real ones feel your pain even when you don't speak it. The real ones, they don't need proof to see your worth. So walk. Keep walking. Don't look back. Don't reread the messages. Don't replay the memories. That chapter is closed, not because the story ended, but because the character they were supposed to be never showed up. And you deserve characters who don't need convincing to stay. You deserve people who don't treat your heart like a battlefield. You deserve peace that doesn't ask you to suffer first. And it's coming. But only if you leave the ruins behind. Only if you stop waiting for ghosts to turn human. Only if you let go of what broke you. Not because it didn't matter, but because you do. And while you're walking forward, remember this. The silence you're walking in now is not emptiness. It's sacred. It's where your mind gets sharp. It's where your soul breathes again. It's where you stop hearing their voice and start hearing your own. For so long, you drowned your own needs just to keep others comfortable. You put your pain on mute just to avoid making others feel guilty. You swallowed your emotions whole because every time you tried to express yourself, they made you feel like a burden. But now your silence is the loudest thing in the room. It's the echo of boundaries finally drawn, of peace earned through war, of self-respect being rebuilt, brick by painful brick. And they can't stand it. Because they don't recognize this version of you. The one that doesn't beg, doesn't chase, doesn't explain. They remember the soft version. The version they could manipulate with a fake apology or a midnight "I miss you." But that version got buried the day you realized being soft with people who only come around to steal your light is suicide. Let them miss you. Let them sit in the consequences of their choices. Let them taste the silence they swore they'd never notice, because that's how it works. People don't appreciate peace until they're surrounded by noise. They don't value loyalty until they're surrounded by fakes. They don't miss your light until they're drowning in their own darkness. And they will drown. Not because you want them to, but because they chose to swim away from the one person who would have pulled them to shore. You were the lifeboat they mocked while clinging to sinking ships. And now that they're sinking, they look for you. But you're on land now, and you've learned. You don't throw yourself back into the water just to save someone who laughed while you were drowning. It still hurts, doesn't it? Some days, more than others. You think about the laughs, the little moments, the things you thought were real, and maybe they were, for you. That's the thing people don't get. Just because it was real for you doesn't mean it was real for them. And just because it ended without warning doesn't mean it didn't teach you something. Pain is the most honest teacher you'll ever have. It doesn't sugarcoat. It doesn't care about timing. It hits you hard, fast, and leaves you with two choices: stay broken or rebuild stronger. And you chose strength. Even when your voice shook, even when your heart screamed, even when everything inside you wanted to go back just one more time, you stayed still. You stayed silent. And in that silence, you found yourself. Let that be your story. Not one of revenge, not one of bitterness, but one of brutal rebirth. You were kind, and they mistook it for weakness. You were loyal, and they used it as a leash. You were soft, and they used it as an excuse to be rough with your heart. But all that, it's over. Now, your kindness has boundaries. Your loyalty has conditions. Your softness, it's reserved for the ones who show up, stay, and speak truth. No more building bridges for people who only come to burn them. No more second chances to people who treated your heart like an option. You've graduated from that school of pain, and the diploma, it's written in your silence, stamped by your distance, and sealed by your peace. You'll find something strange happens when you finally start to heal. You start losing interest in explaining yourself. You stop feeling the urge to defend your silence, your distance, your change. You don't care who misunderstood you anymore. Because deep down, you understand you. And that's the real victory. You realize you don't owe anyone a breakdown, a reason, a closure. You owe yourself peace. You owe yourself a life that doesn't revolve around people who only remember you when they need something. And that peace, it comes when you stop checking your phone for a message that's never coming. When you stop refreshing old memories hoping they'll feel warm again. When you stop searching their face in a crowd. Stop listening for their voice in a room that no longer holds space for them. That's when the shift happens. Not outside, but inside. The war becomes quiet. The storm settles. And in that silence, you become untouchable. Don't confuse that silence for weakness. Nah, silence is strategy now. You've learned that not every battle needs to be fought out loud. Some wars are won by stepping back, watching the chaos unfold, and refusing to be dragged into it. You know your value now. You know your worth. And people hate that. They hate when the version of you they could control suddenly becomes immune to their chaos. They miss the control, not the connection. They miss the reaction, not the relationship. They'll test you with memories, with fake remorse, with ghost-like visits to your mind. But you've learned. Some people aren't coming back because they love you. They're coming back because their new supply ran out. Their games don't work on the healed version of you. They don't know how to touch a heart that's locked the doors and change the keys. It hurts, I know, especially the quiet moments when the world slows down and it's just you and the weight of what they did. It's heavy. Some days it feels unbearable, but even that pain has purpose. It's sharpening you, teaching you. Every ounce of ache is carving a stronger you out of the ruins of who you used to be. It's teaching you the value of boundaries, the importance of self-respect, the power of letting go. You're not who you were, and that's a good thing, because who you were would have forgiven again, would have answered the late-night call, would have listened to the same excuses with a hopeful heart. But now, you don't pick up, you don't explain, you don't respond. You protect your peace like your life depends on it, because it does. You know what the most dangerous person in the room is? It's not the loud one. It's not the angry one. It's the quiet one who's seen hell, survived it, and chose to stay silent. That's you now. You're not fueled by revenge. You're fueled by clarity. And clarity, it's lethal. Because once you see someone for who they are, not who you hoped they'd be, there's no going back. You don't hate them. You don't love them. You accept them as lessons, as warnings, as examples of who never to become and who never to trust again. And that's where your strength lives now, in your restraint, in your refusal to go back to a place that broke you. So let them talk. Let them twist the story. Let them act like you were the problem. Because you've learned the truth doesn't need defense. It only needs time. And time? It always exposes who was real and who was just passing through. Keep walking in silence. Keep building in private. Because one day, they'll hear about you. Not from your mouth, but from the echo of everything you became after they left. And that echo, it's louder than any goodbye you never got. They'll never admit what they did. That's the game. They leave you broken, confused, questioning yourself, and then walk away like you were the problem all along. And that's what twists the knife, right? Not just that they hurt you, but that they made you feel like you deserved it. They make you carry the guilt for their actions, the shame for their silence, the blame for their betrayal. And because you cared, you believed it. You looked in the mirror and asked, what did I do wrong? You replayed every conversation, every moment, trying to find the exact second when everything shifted. But the truth? It was never you. It was them. They just didn't have the courage to love you properly, or the decency to leave with honesty. So they chose the coward's exit, distance, silence, blame. And you were left to stitch your heart back together with trembling hands and unanswered questions. But that was the old you, the one who kept offering love to people who only knew how to take, the one who kept forgiving without being asked, the one who thought if you just held on a little longer, maybe they'd change. But people don't change. They just get better at hiding who they really are. And once you see them clearly, the illusion breaks. Suddenly, you stop missing them. You start missing the version of you that existed before they broke you. That's the real grief. Not the person, but the innocence, the hope, the belief that maybe, just maybe, they meant what they said, but they didn't. They used words like weapons and affection like bait, and you fell for it because you had a good heart, the kind of heart that sees potential instead of patterns. But now you read patterns like scripture. You don't wait for the explosion. You leave at the first sign of smoke, and they feel it. Trust me, they feel it. They don't say it, but they do. That space you used to fill with presence and patience is now a void they can't explain. That silence you wrapped around your pain, it became a wall they can't climb. You think they don't care, but they do. Not in the way you needed them to. Not with remorse, not with changed behavior, but with regret. And regret is different from guilt. Regret doesn't mean they would have done it differently. It just means they miss the benefits. They miss your light, your effort, your love. And they miss it because they can't replicate it. People like you don't come around often. That's why they try to circle back, why they pop up in shadows, why they watch in silence. Not because they care, but because they're haunted. Haunted by how easy it was for them to lose something priceless. Haunted by how unbothered you look now. And I know, you don't feel unbothered. Not always. You still carry the weight. You still flinch at memories. You still hear their voice in places it doesn't belong. But even that is part of the process. Healing isn't loud. It's not cinematic. It's quiet. It's choosing not to text them back. It's deleting the playlist. It's walking past a place you shared without pausing. It's the small decisions that add up. And eventually, the ache dulls. The memories fade. Not because they stop existing, but because you stop feeding them. You starve the pain until it forgets how to hurt. That's healing. That's growth. That's power. And you earned it. Every inch of it. Through nights that made you question your worth. Through mornings you didn't want to face. Through a silence so loud it almost drove you mad. But you're still here. Not whole, but wiser. And that's everything.